Distinguished panelists, distinguished moderator, participants of the 46th IPA convention, ladies and gentlemen, our warmest welcome to the plenary hall, Jakarta Convention Center, for the special talk on Indonesia upstream investments. The important question that will be discussed in this session is why major IOCs still invest in Indonesia. To commence, we will now have a short video.
Mengapa perusahaan migas global masih berinvestasi di Indonesia? Pemerintah telah mendorong berbagai kebijakan untuk meningkatkan produktivitas di sektor migas, utamanya dalam rangka pencapaian target lifting migas sebesar 1 juta barel minyak bumi per hari dan 12 miliar standar kaki kubik gas bumi per hari pada 2030. Selain upaya untuk kegiatan operasi, pengembangan, serta eksplorasi, pemerintah juga telah menyediakan berbagai insentif hulu migas untuk membuat skema fiskal yang lebih menarik sehingga mendorong peningkatan produksi migas. Insentif tersebut antara lain berupa perubahan split bagi hasil yang lebih menarik, penundaan sementara pencadangan biaya kegiatan pasca operasi atau abandonment and site restoration, dan pengecualian pajak pertambahan nilai liquefied natural gas. Selain itu, pemerintah juga telah memberikan insentif berupa pembebasan biaya pemanfaatan barang milik negara yang akan digunakan untuk kegiatan hulu migas, penundaan atau pengurangan pajak tidak langsung, penerapan insentif investasi, dan penerapan volume gas yang dapat dijual dengan harga pasar. Akan tetapi, upaya pemerintah untuk meningkatkan daya saing Indonesia harus terus-menerus dilakukan, seiring dengan meningkatnya persaingan global untuk mendapatkan investasi migas. Minyak dan gas adalah bisnis yang berisiko tinggi. Untuk menemukan cadangan baru, dapat menghabiskan biaya hingga triliunan rupiah, walaupun belum tentu berhasil menemukan cadangan migas baru. Perusahaan-perusahaan migas global memainkan peranan penting dalam membawa keahlian dan modal untuk menghadapi risiko tinggi dalam bisnis hulu migas. Pada saat ini, beberapa proyek besar sedang dikerjakan oleh investor global yang diharapkan akan menunjang perolehan target produksi Indonesia. Hal ini menunjukkan bahwa banyak perusahaan migas global yang masih berinvestasi di Indonesia. Dengan peningkatan daya saing Indonesia yang harus terus dilakukan pemerintah untuk menarik investasi, diharapkan lebih banyak usaha eksplorasi maupun optimalisasi produksi.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have 4 esteemed panelists who will share their expertise and views in this special talk, Why Major IOCs Still Invest in Indonesia. And we have Mr. Triharyo Indrawan Susilo, oil and gas expert, special advisor to the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources of the Republic of Indonesia as our session moderator. Bapak Triharyo Indrawan Susilo, you have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests in this plenary hall, and also other guests and participants who are joining through online. Welcome to the first special talk with the theme Why International Oil and Gas Companies Are Investing in Indonesia. Contrary to the news in various media, which reported that international oil and gas majors are leaving Indonesia, this afternoon we will hear the facts that actually many international oil and gas majors are investing, and not only investing, significantly investing in Indonesia. We will hear from 4 oil and gas majors executives about their significant investment in Indonesia, and later I will ask them, why are they increasing their investment in Indonesia? Today we have number 1, Pak Diego Portuguese, Managing Director of IENA Indonesia. Please, Pak Diego, have a seat beside me. And then after that, Ibu Kathy Wu, the new BP Regional Asia Pacific Director. Please, Bu Kathy. Welcome, Pak Diego. And then Pak Gary Selby, President Director of Premier Oil Indonesia, a harbor energy company. Pak Gary, please. And finally, Pak Egon van der Hoven, Senior Vice President of ExxonMobil. Pak Egon, please. So each of them will present their investment, their oil and gas company investment in Indonesia, maybe 5 to 7 minutes. And then after 4 presentations, we will have a question and answer session. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Pak Diego, and while Pak Diego is going to the podium, let me introduce him. Pak Diego has been with ENI for 17 years, developing upstream and midstream projects. He already assigned Indonesia for 3 years. Pak Diego is actually the mastermind of development Jangkrik, Merakes East, and Maha. In the following months, Pak Diego will be promoted to Middle East. Today is actually, he would like to bid farewell to all of you and perhaps inform us, his successor. Pak Diego, this is your best chance to present your final presentation in Indonesia. Please, Pak Diego.
Thanks, Pak Enki, for the introduction, and it's actually a pleasure for me to be here today. I would say, the last 10 days of my assignment in country to present what we have done as a company, what we are doing, and what would be the next steps of our journey in country. Very exciting journey. In fact, my successor is actually here with us today. We are in the handover phase. It's certainly a pleasure for us to have the chance to meet all the stakeholders of the oil and gas industry here in this IPA CONVEX. Getting started in terms of what are the activities that ENI has been working on and is currently committed to continue his investment journey. As you may know, ENI is, although it's present in the whole country, with various blocks, where we have 13 blocks in all the country. What we call our home in country is actually the Kuwait Basin, where we have 5 operated blocks and 2 non-operated ones. Our production activity started back in 2017 when we started the production of Jangkrik, with the Jangkrik and Jangkrik Northeast field, and we actually started up our FPU of Jangkrik. Then after a few years of production there, we managed last year, I would say proudly managed, together with the support of the government, to start up in the middle of the pandemic, the Merakes project. And this project is now fully operational, and together with Jangkrik is giving us a production of about 600 million scf per day for 2022. And that's basically where we are at the moment in terms of production basis. Now, I would like to mention 3 steps of our path here in country. Short-term, mid-term, and long-term view of our presence here. As regards the short-term, we are actually currently working on a sidetrack campaign. We're going to have 3 wells in a row, one after the other. And the target is to increase our production at the end of this campaign by around 20%. So that's the first step that will allow us to start 2022 having much stronger numbers and giving a contribution to 2023 production target of the country. Looking ahead, we are working on the development side, having 2 main projects in our portfolio, namely Merakes East, where we are currently discussing in a very cooperative and fruitful way with SK Chemigas in order to finalize our POD in the coming months, and being able to further contribute in the midterm, in the coming years, for the production of the Jangkrik FPU. And the other one is Maha, that will follow immediately after that. Not only we have developments and we have operations ongoing at the moment, but we are also focusing on the exploration side. As you can see from this map, we have a number of blocks in the Kutai Basin that are not only operations, but also have lots of exploration potential. In fact, in the years to come, we are planning to have a number of exploration wells in some of the blocks that are included here in the map in the Kutai Basin that would further allow us to keep having a production profile as high as possible, leveraging upon two key assets that we consider are crucial for our presence here and the success of our presence here. One is the Junk Creek FPU. As I was mentioning, being started up in 2017, it is there. It is an asset that can be continuously fed with additional development projects that would allow the capacity of the FPU to be always at the maximum capacity. And the other crucial asset there is the Bontang LNG plant, the PT Badak plant. Is there, and we have the chance to fill the capacity of the plant, allowing us and the government to be very well positioned to reach the market, because the market destination of the LNG, of course, is mostly the Far East market that is only few days of navigation away from Indonesia. That's to say, to conclude our short presentation on our presence here, so far, I would say in the last 10 years, our journey has been very successful here, thanks to the cooperation with the country and with the government and with the partners that we have in the area. And we believe that we have many opportunities in front of us to continue this path and to further contribute to the success and to the achievement of the production targets that the country has set for 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Diego. Please take a seat. And thank you on behalf of the Indonesian government on your achievements, and also congratulations on your promotion. So next speaker is Ibu Kathy. Ibu Kathy Wu is, please, Ibu Kathy, while she is approaching the podium, has been with BP for 26 years in commercial, business development, and also general management. Indonesia is very close to her heart. Before being assigned as BP top role in Asia Pacific, she was CFO of BP Asia Pacific and India regions, and also managing director of BP in Australia. Bu Kathy, please update us on BP's development in Tangguh, Bintuni, and also Agung. Please, Bu Kathy.
Terima kasih, Pak Hengki, for your very kind introduction. Distinguished participants and guests, selamat siang. I'm very honored to be here to have this opportunity to speak with you today. Today is a very important and fantastic opportunity where all stakeholders from the government and also from the industry to get together and talk about the ways we can improve our industry. So let me just start with a brief introduction of our BP's business in Indonesia. We have been in country for more than 55 years and we're going strong. Indonesia is a great success story for BP throughout the last 5 decades. Not only were able to survive through various crises of economic turmoil, political dynamic, and the pandemic, we are flourishing in this country. Our presence is a perfect combination of great geological potential, a premium and growing market, very welcoming host government, and most recently, an especially strong collaborative and partnership approach introduced by the regulator. As you can see on this map, all of BP's businesses have a footprint here in Indonesia. We have very strong presence in our gas business with Tangguh LNG. It is the largest gas producer in country. We have Castrol Lubricants, trading, and we're also growing our latest entry in retail and aviation fuel. To date, in country, we've been investing more than $15 billion, and with our planned Tangguh CCUS projects, we would expect to have our investment reach $20 billion. We're aiming to expand all of our existing businesses while continuing to seek new opportunities, especially in our gas and low carbon energy business. When capital is tight for exploration, we are receiving good support from our head office to grow our gas business. This testament of confidence to Indonesia is built upon our decades of track record of accomplishment through our Tangguh LNG. Let me tell you a few words of Tangguh. It is by far the most isolated areas out of the 70 countries where BP operates. It takes 2 plane rides and a boat ride to reach Papua. And this is where we are able to maintain safe, secure, and reliable production. And just a few days ago, we have made a brand new production record in Tangguh Train 1 and 2. Of course, we could have not have achieved what we have without the strong support by SK Kamigas and ESDM. So Indonesia will remain a strategic fit for BP to invest in, and these are the reasons why. In early 2020, we have started our own reimagining energy journey and set out our own net zero ambition to become a net zero company by 2050 or earlier. That does not change the way we see Indonesia as a strategic country in our portfolio, because Indonesia as a country offers a strategic fit to BP, where resilient hydrocarbon is a key pillar for our new strategy. Indonesia is 128 basins strong in terms of geological potential, coupled with the energy demand that is expected to double by 2030. So therefore, in addition to Tangguh LNG and our Andaman block operated by Premier Harbor, we have recently been awarded Agung 1 and 2 offshore blocks, where we could utilize our world-class expertise in deepwater operations, as well as it's very close to our demand center. Secondly, gas continues to play a significant role in energy transition in Indonesia. The government has a target to reach 27% of gas in the energy mix by 2030. That is up from 19% today. The government also has a very strong commitment to accelerate development of national gas infrastructure. All of this gives us confidence in investing in more future exploration. So there is clear alignment between BP and Indonesia in terms of energy transition and our net zero targets. Indonesia has set out a net zero target by 2060, which mirrors what BP would like to do in our own decarbonization efforts. A case in point is our Tangguh CCUS project, which is our next stage of development at Tangguh LNG. This is a project that we seek to approximately capture 25 to 30 million tons of CO2 by injecting back into the reservoir, and also the CCS mechanism will provide incremental gas recovery through EGR. The government of Indonesia has continuously shown willingness to improve the business climate, which we are very much appreciative. The government always adopts an open door policy. This is very important to create more engagements and discussions to find solutions to our common problems. In our own experiences, SKK Migas, ESDM, Prime Minister Pak Hengki have all given their valuable time to BP. The open door policy has strongly facilitated problem solving. The government of Indonesia is also very eager to collaborate with investors, and we saw a series of focus group discussions initiated by SK Kamigas under Pak Dui's leadership, and there has never been any hesitation from SKK Migas to support our activities. The Energy Ministry has willingness to listen to investors, such as flexibility in financial terms, which is very important in all of our considerations when we make new investment decisions. For example, the flexibility between production sharing contracts and the new growth split scheme in the latest bid round, and it is one of our key considerations when we were looking at the Agung 1 and 2 block opportunities. So despite the challenging dynamics at times, BP has enjoyed good relationships with our key stakeholders, both at national and also regional levels. And we have gained support to manage not only the technical risks, but also the non-technical risks, particularly in managing our local communities' expectations. We share the same vision with the government in ensuring positive multiplier impact to the communities surrounding our operations. As of today, we're very proud to say over 70% of our workforce in Tangguh LNG operations are indigenous Papuan colleagues, and more than 30 local Papuan companies currently support our supply chain. So to sum it all up, BP is here to stay, and we're very optimistic going forward. The government of Indonesia would remain committed to this very important collaboration spirit. Our industry is facing enormous challenges as we're going through transition, and we would require collaboration between investors and governments all working together. And with that, BP and myself, we're very confident we can create significant contributions to Indonesia, the country that we love to our dear heart. So terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih banyak, Ibu Kathy, and also congratulations on your promotion in July to be the highest BP role in Asia Pacific. And welcome next year, maybe a lot of new production from Tangusri and others. Okay, next speaker is Pak Gary. Pak Gary Selby is the President Director and Country Manager of Premier Oil. Please, Pak Gary, proceed to the podium. A Harbor Energy company. He has held this role since January 2016, and he has 32 years of experience in the oil and gas industry. Pak Gary's expertise is worldwide drilling operation and completion. Pak Gary, please, and you are famous now because of the Andaman project. Many news about you. So please inform us about Andaman project.
Okay, terima kasih Pak Henki. I hope you can hear me okay. I also hope you can understand my Scottish accent. So as Pak Henki said, I'm country manager for Harbor Energy, as we're now known. Many of you will remember us as Premier Oil. And as Premier Oil, we've been here not quite as long as BP, but we've been here over 25 years in Indonesia. So obviously we like it here. I've only got one slide, so I should be relatively quick. You can see from the map there that we have three main areas of operation in Indonesia. So Natuna Sea Block A is where our production comes from. We've been selling gas to Singapore via the West Natuna pipeline system now since 1999. The GSAs will run until 2028, and the PSC expires fairly soon after that. What I would say, though, is that demand for our gas from Singapore is very high at the moment, and I think it's likely to stay that way for the foreseeable future, probably because the spot LNG prices, as you know, are extremely high right now, and that's our main competition in terms of the pipeline supply into Singapore. So based on that, we're currently in some very constructive discussions with SKK Migas about some marginal fields that we have on that block, and we're hoping to be able to land the appropriate incentives and improved terms that we need to develop those marginal fields and possibly extend the life of our Anoa platform and our Gajah Baru fields, and also the PSC. So that's Natuna. Up on the northeast, almost the extremity of Indonesia's maritime territory, you can see there we have the Tuna field. The Tuna field is still in the exploration phase, but we discovered the Tuna field back in 2014. We successfully appraised and tested the field further last year in 2021. It's a gas field with associated condensate and some black oil. And our base case is to actually connect into the Nam Kon Son pipeline system just across the border in Vietnam and sell the gas via that pipeline into Vietnam. It wasn't economic to hook into the nearest pipeline systems in Indonesia because of the geographical distances involved. So we have draft commercial agreements in place with the Vietnamese government, and I would have to say that we've had fantastic support from both the Indonesian government and the Vietnamese government. I think both governments are very keen to see the Tuna field being developed. It's obviously in quite a strategic location. I'll leave it at that. But we've had excellent support from both governments so far, so we appreciate that. We're on track to submit our POD for Tuna within the next few weeks, actually, before the end of October, with first gas targeted for sometime in late 2026. Our final area operated area is the Andaman area, which has had a bit of airtime today already. We operate, Harbour Energy operate Andaman 2, and we also have non-operated interests in Andaman 1 and South Andaman, which are operated by Mubadala. We shot multi-client 3D over the entire area a couple of years ago, and we followed that up with a successful exploration well. I think you've heard about it already today, but we drilled the Timpan 1 well just recently and had good exploration success. I won't repeat the numbers. I think you've all read it in the press, but it's I think the whole area would definitely qualify as a giant discovery, which I know the Indonesian government are very keen to develop. It's deep water, as I say, large gas prospects, and also fairly high condensate yield as well. So that's nice in some ways, but it gives us development challenges in others. We're now planning to shoot a further 3D seismic survey this year over the eastern part of the block, and we're also progressing plans to drill 2, possibly 3 follow-up wells on Andaman next year, and targeting possible first gas. It's deep water, it's fairly remote, but looking at possible first gas by 2028. In terms of new ventures and growth, we're also currently working on 2 specific business development opportunities in Indonesia right now. In fact, we've got our business development team from corporate head office in London are here today, so if anyone wants to meet them on the stand, please come on over. But again, I think that shows that we're committed to Indonesia in the long run. There are some challenges, of course, which we're going to talk about over the next 3 days. The capped regulated domestic gas price being one of them, a particular challenge for deep water or remote fields. And of course, local gas infrastructure will also need to grow quickly to be able to allow us to achieve our 2030 production targets. But to summarize, why are we still investing here? Why are Harbour still investing here? It's clear that large exploration opportunities still exist in Indonesia. They have significant CCS and CCUS opportunities as well, which I think fits with all of our net zero ambitions. We have a cooperative government who are willing to listen to our concerns and our suggestions. And something which is often overlooked, but it's not lost on me, is that we have a skilled and loyal workforce, which I think is extremely valuable. So I've overshot my time slightly, Pak Henky, but basically we look forward to continued success and collaboration with Pak Henky and the rest of the Indonesian government team as Harbour Energy move into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Gary. Congratulations on Timpan 1. Everybody is happy. Even the president is very happy. I like to let you know about that. Okay, next is Pak Egon. Pak Egon is from ExxonMobil. He has been in Exxon since March, Indonesia, March 2021, as the Senior Vice President Business Development. He is actually the brain behind the Clastic development, which I know very well. So in short, Pak Egon is held various senior commercial management positions, Africa, Middle East, Asia Pacific, 20 years, not only in upstream, but midstream, refining, research, and also downstream. He has a very complete resume. Pak Egon, please, the floor is yours.
Terima kasih, Pak Henky, for your kind words. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct honor to represent ExxonMobil here today and talk about our investment into Indonesia. So if you go to the next slide, just for context, ExxonMobil has been here for more than a century, and that's quite a long time. And I would like to highlight a couple of notable experiences. So if you can go to the next slide.
Next.
There you go. Yeah. So, of course, the Arun PSC and the LNG has been very important as a development for Indonesia and one of a first, if I must say, and that is something that we're very proud of. Then also, of course, the development of the Banyu Urip oil field in the Cepu block that we're still producing from today. And then most recently, our acquisition of the loops business, Ferro Karyatatama. Overall, since the Arun days, ExxonMobil has invested more than $24 billion in Indonesia. And if I look at just the Cepu block and the production from the Banyu Urip, we produced more than 550 million barrels from this oil field. And we increased the reserve to almost 1 billion barrels. Those are very notable achievements and very notable also in our own ExxonMobil portfolio. Next slide. When we look at investments, and ExxonMobil not unique, all IOCs and companies will do this, we continuously to evaluate our portfolio. And we assess new opportunities based on the portfolio fit. So in this case, of course, I'm talking to an audience that's very well aware of the challenges of our industry. It's high risk, it's capital intensive, and it's got long time horizons. Very complicated. And of course, now we're also going into an energy transition, which beyond the complexity also adds uncertainty for our investments. This causes the upstream investments to be very heavily scrutinized by our headquarters and by our shareholders and stakeholders. However, investments still get done, and capital will flow to the best projects. And so in that world, Indonesia is competing with other countries for those slice of investment dollars. Slide. Of course, as any, I would say, good marriage, ExxonMobil investment in the upstream in Indonesia has not always been smooth ride. And we had some impacts from audits, exploration issues, and of course, ease of doing business-related matters. That is what a marriage is about. And satisfactory resolution of those challenges that we face in the upstream are required to improve investor confidence. Now, the government of Indonesia desires to improve oil and gas investments to meet its rising energy demand and is willing to consider novel and creative solutions. We've seen this with ESDM, with MIGAS and SKK MIGAS. Particularly, by Henke, you've been involved in many of those. So, as we look at solutions for our challenges, and we look for ways to invest in Indonesia, and I'm thinking of increasing or improving fiscals, or tax incentives, or collaboration on fiscal disputes, we've seen a lot of willingness, especially in the last several years, to make that work. And that increases our confidence to continue to invest in Indonesia. And so, as a result, the opportunities that we see ahead of us are competitive in our portfolio, and so we've committed to a Banyu Urip infill drilling and clastics appraisal program. We are committed to monetize and commercialize the excess associated gas from our Banyu Urip oil production. We are looking at a renewed eye at exploration activities here in Indonesia. And of course, our loops, fuels, and chemical growth ventures are doing really well. But also, and very exciting, is a new frontier, of course, which is the low carbon solutions, including carbon capture and storage. We've been very active in recently. So with that, ExxonMobil, we are committed to be the partner of choice here in Indonesia, and we're willing to invest. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Pak Egon. Thank you so much. Hopefully, Plastic successful. So next, we would like to have a question and answer session, and we welcome questions from the audience and also maybe someone from online. I don't know how to send a question from online, but while we wait for the questions, I have some questions to the distinguished speakers. To Pak Diego first. What's your one lasting memory in oil and gas investment? Yeah, not in the malls. What is your one lasting memory about Indonesia development in 3 years? I think you did a lot in Indonesia. Please, Pak Diego.
I would say, as was mentioning before, thanks for the question, Pak Henke. I would say the the best memory I have is the success of Merakes project and the success of a challenge that wasn't expected, because when you know, Merakes project is a deep water project with many technical challenges, execution risks, but nobody had foreseen a pandemic to come, right? So what we did at that time was to stop for a little while and understand what would have been the proper way to re-establish and reframe the project to make it work. And after a little while, we reorganized the project together with the SKK Migas support, and we found a way to make it work. We established a very strong and rigid protocol to safeguard our people and the operations, and we did it. And that's something we are really proud of.
Congratulations. Thank you, Pak Diego. Bu Kathy, Pak Nader Zaki put a lot of foods in your plates. There are Tangusri operation next March. There are UCC project. There are Agung 1 and 2. There are Andaman. So a lot of things in your plates. What's your one concern? What's your one focus of so many for the next 2023 and following years? Please.
Okay. Thanks, Pa, for the question. I think we're very excited about the long-term future. And if I look from a short-term standpoint, setting out for the priority for the next 6 to 12 months, I think is definitely to get our Train 3, which is our next LNG project, which is unfortunately very heavily impacted by the pandemic, to bring it online safely and with quality. So when it is up, it stays up. And schedule-wise, we would like to get it online as soon as possible. So throughout the last 2.5 years, BP and our CSCS, who is our EPC contractor, have overcome countless challenges, of course, with government support, which we're very grateful for, to get to this stage where we had to mitigate or combat the power of the pandemic, as well as progressing the project safely. And we're very confident we will be able to finish the project strong. So if you ask me for the very near-term priority, that is it. At the same time, looking out into the future, as you mentioned, we're very excited about the growth opportunities that you mentioned, and we're definitely wanting to pursue those.
Thank you, Bu Kathy. 3.8 million ton of LNG coming per year, quickly. Yeah, Bu Kathy? Pak Gary, what's the secret of the success of Timpan in Andaman in relation of Indonesia, yeah? Of course, you have expertise in Premier and Harbor, but in relation to Indonesia, what's the secret of that success in your evaluation, post-evaluation? It's a difficult question.
Thanks, Pak Henky. I don't think there's one particular secret to the success in Timpan. I think we've seen a lot of good collaboration in terms of access to seismic data for those of us looking to explore these unexplored basins. So yeah, we had excellent support from Migas and the government when trying to put together the multi-client 3D survey, and of course that's the basis for all the activity that you're seeing now. I think again in terms of the actual drilling success, yes, it was a challenge because it was a new area for us. It was deep water, which is also new for us. I mean, we've drilled many wells around the world, but not many deep water wells. But I think again, excellent support from not only SKK Migas but also from BPMA and the local government in Aceh, and the local people. I think when you travel up to that part of the world, to Aceh or to Lok Samawi, I think they definitely still miss the previous activity levels when ExxonMobil were very active up there, and there's a real desire from the local community to see success and to see activity levels picking up there again. So it's very rewarding to see that happening.
Thank you, Pak Gary. Pak Gon, you have a lot of data in Cepu, in Banyurip, and Clastic is not so far away. So how confident are you with Clastic?
Pa, good question. And it's a subsurface, right? You don't really know until you drill it and that you test it. And so we know there are hydrocarbons there because we penetrated it many times as we're developing the Banyu Urip oil field. The challenge that we're going to face, and the question that we have to answer for ourselves is, can you make it economic? Can you produce from it? And so, as part of our infill drilling program, we're going to drill 5 wells in Banyu Urip and recover 65 million more barrels. We're also going to do 2 appraisal wells in the clastics, and we're going to appraise the reservoir and see if we can economically produce from it. If that's the case, it could be quite big.
Okay, let's see. Okay, we have questions from audience. Please highlight Ibu Siska. During current capital constraint for investment in Indonesia, how do you maximize existing asset and resource potential in exploration activities? Do you plan some exploration activities in Indonesia to secure your future in the country? Exploration is the key. Okay, I think who? Bu Ketty or Pak Gary? Bu Ketty first, maybe. How do you maximize existing asset and finding new resources in Indonesia?
So I think the key is at the company level, proper capital frame or capital allocation, because we cannot put all of our money into our existing assets. At the same time, we cannot starve the existing assets and give all of the capital to the future. So how do we estimate the cash flows by proper investments into our existing assets will bring us into the funding that we need to invest into the longer term future? I think that's a live process that each company is going through, and getting that balance right is very important. And as we look at opportunities around the world, we need to say whether we're looking at optimization of existing assets or looking into the future, the opportunities themselves have to be competitive in the respective category in the company's global portfolio.
Okay, thank you, Bu Ketty. Pak Gary, how do you balance between Natuna and Andaman and so on and so forth, between existing assets and new exploration?
Yeah, of course, there's always a trade-off, yeah, between, and as I think has already been mentioned, we're now competing for an ever-decreasing pool of exploration budget. Everyone in the company, and I think in the country here, are excited about Andaman. So of course, that will tend to be top of the list in terms of securing exploration funds. But we also, as Ibu Kathy said, we also look to maximize the value of our existing assets, and that's why we're in dialogue at the moment with SKK Migas and the government about improved terms that will allow us to develop some fields close to our existing production, which otherwise would never get developed.
Yep.
And we have a limited time frame to do that. So it's a balance, as you said, and we're trying to do both basically. We're trying to do greenfield exploration, but we're also trying to to maximize the value of our existing assets through through marginal field developments.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Pak Gary. Next question, John from Birkdale Energy. Maybe this is for Pak Diego and also Pak Egon. Incentives play important role in your investment decision, but those case by case on the negotiation. What is the main challenge to secure these incentives? If incentives are always needed to develop a project, would it be better for those incentives if you're just available as a base case? Okay, Pak Diego, Marrakesh is your exact experience now.
Yeah, but you're right, and the question is an interesting one. We touch base also
this matter, I remember last year during the IOG conference in Bali, organized by SK Gas. And I think, I would say, the flexibility is crucial, because all the projects are different. So the fact that we have established with the government of Indonesia, being ESDM and SK Gas, the chance to have a framework of flexible discussions. They're not only negotiations, they are cooperative discussions to try to find a way to make the project viable for both sides, right? And having a number of areas that can be triggered to make the incentives go and be helpful for the project to fly is crucial. So every project will have its peculiarities, will have his own needs, and only discussing with the counterparties, with the government and the project developers, there will be the way to find a viable solution. So I think I wouldn't go towards a direction of a new scheme, a new base case with the incentives there, because the incentives that E&I will be looking for are probably different from the ones that Exxon is actually chasing, or BP or Premier. So I would say the key word is flexibility here. And I'm sure that following up what has been done in the last few years, we may be successful in further sanctioning new projects.
Thank you, Pak. Flexibility. Okay, Pak Egon, what happened in Clastic? How did you secure incentives?
Yeah, I'm agreeing full-heartedly with what Pak Diego said. Flexibility is key. Of course, we love to see incentives readily available, but every situation can be unique. I think to add to that is also about how can we help the government streamline processes, like a procurement process. A lot of the issues comes from waiting for approvals and things to happen, so the time to first oil is delayed and delayed. Or maybe the immigration process for skilled and selected personnel. Those are processes that are not really easily described as an incentive in a PEC, but are very important to make things go forward. And so for the plastics, that was a somewhat a unique situation, and that was what I meant with my comment about that we see a lot more creativity and flexibility with ESDM and SK Migas to creatively think solutions how to move forward, because our interests are aligned. We want to bring production online as soon as possible, same as with the government.
Okay. Creativity, flexibility and creativity. Okay, final question. What is the one thing that you would like to change for the Indonesian oil gas industry, regulation-wise or others? Maybe from Pak Egon first. What is one thing you want to change?
Well, we had an earlier discussion about how West Africa has been explored by small companies, private equity-backed or venture capital-backed, founders with an ideas, they're pursuing a play. And it's somewhat hard to imagine that happening in Indonesia, because it's not easy as a newcomer to come here and explore and maybe leave if you don't have success. Whereas in Africa that really took off. And so making it easier for businesses to come in and explore, I think that would be a key aspect. Okay. If you look at we've been in country for many years, many decades, but to bring in new companies, some significant changes in that aspect.
Thank you, Pak Egon. Yeah, easier for a newcomer. Right. Pak Gary, what's the one thing you like to change?
I think this is something that you've probably heard me saying before, but probably one of the biggest frustrations I think for the industry is we have so much positive sentiment from ESDM, and MIGAS and SKK MIGAS, where many of our problems lie, or many of our delays lie when we have to deal with other ministries. So I think for me the cooperation and the collaboration between the different divisions of the government and maybe better alignment in terms of the long-term goals. Many of the 2030 production targets, if we're honest, we need massive fiscal incentives in the next 2 to 3 years. So you need some short-term pain to realize the long-term gain. And that requires full support from Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Maritime, Trade Ministry, etc. And for some of those other ministries, that's difficult for them to approve. And so I think in simple terms, it would be improved alignment and cooperation between the other ministries, not with the SDM.
Okay, thank you, Pak Gary. Better support from other ministries. Thank you, Bu Kathy.
I would say, as a whole, given the enormity of the challenges, if we can work in the right direction but move faster.
Move faster.
Yeah, I think whether it's when we talked about new investments being made, it's important for investors to get certainty and assurance that the return that they see through the contracts can be implemented.
Okay.
And those confidence will be reflected in the application, the implementation of the contracts we have. So the decisions and the collaboration, the coordination, and can be made faster with clarity. I think that would be a great way forward. We're already making great strides, and it's always good to keep improving.
Okay, thank you. Faster and faster, and clarity. Okay, parting words from Mr. Diego. What's one thing before you leave for Middle East?
I would say I'm unlucky because I'm the last one to talk. So they already said what I was supposed to say. Jokes apart, I want to echo what Gary and Buketi just mentioned. I would say the simplification of the processes and the ease of doing business comes with the key point of concern are the ones that Gary was mentioning, that the interactions with the other ministries are crucial to be simplified and kind of speeded up. On the other side, this comes also with the possibility to fast-track the initiatives. The time to market from the discoveries to the first gas or first oil is crucial for the project to have a proper sustainability. So these are the areas where that I wouldn't say we have to change, but certainly there are areas where we can try to improve further. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Pak Diego. With that, I think I close this session. Please applause to the distinguished speakers. Thank you so much, Pak Diego, Bu Kathy, Pak Gary, Pak Egon, and I hand over back to the MC.
Thank you very much, Bapak Hengki. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a presentation of mementos as a token of appreciation to our panelists and moderator. Mr. Yuzaini will present the mementos. Please come up to the stage. Bapak Yuzaini, IPA board. Please present the mementos to the panelists and moderator. Our gratitude and appreciation to all panelists and moderator for this very insightful discussion. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Kita kasih tepuk tangan Bapak Ibu sekalian dan kami silakan untuk berfoto bersama. You are kindly requested to pose together for a photograph. Thank you very much. A round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen. Participants of the IPA convention, ladies and gentlemen, snacks and tea and coffee is already served for you at the Cendrawasih Hall. We also remind you to be aware of your belongings at all times and to bring with you your valuables such as mobile phones, etc. when you go out of the room. And to remind you about our agenda this afternoon, we'll have the plenary session 1 at 3 p.m. Thank you very much for your kind attention.